however many payroll people you think you need to adequately staff so that people are not working 12-hour days. Add one more.
I'm Bishop Porter with Cast and Crew Presents, and this is Beyond the Budget. Today I'm joined by Amy Winfrey, a legend among payroll accountants, with credits on major studio and streaming films such as Thunderbolts, The Gray Man, Extraction 2, and Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. With more than 20 years in the industry and experience on large-scale productions around the world, Amy joins us to talk about her career in feature film payroll and what it takes to keep cast and crew paid accurately on large international shoots. Welcome, Amy.
Hi. Good to be here.
I've nicknamed you a few times, but we'll just say I've said the payroll queen, the hours plus queen, the hours plus nanny.
Nanny, okay.
But I do want to just hear how you got started in payroll accounting.
Okay. I was living in Atlanta and working whatever job I could get.
Okay.
I think I had been working at a movie theater, but I was trying to get into production. And I had done the, if you hire me, I'll work a day for free. I was, really trying to get in there.
You got to hustle.
You had to hustle. Now, I would not recommend anybody work for free nowadays, but that is what I did. But I eventually got in and got some contacts and met some people and did some small jobs. And then I got on a Cicely Tyson project. But I was a PA, and I was an on-set PA only on the days when they had a lot of background.
Okay.
So I wasn't even there every day.
Okay.
So working, enjoying it, and one day they come and tell me, hey, the accounting office has had some turnover. Would you like to come in and help the new people? And I'm like, would I like more work, a bigger paycheck every week? Yes, I would. So I went into the accounting office and learned to clerk. Great.
Yeah.
I was clerking, entering POs, filing, whatever they needed done. These two new, it's a 3-person accounting office.
So it was a smaller project?
It was a movie of the week.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you now.
Yeah, it's a blur.
It was a blur. It was a blur then. But I was working. It was great. And then the production coordinator came in one day and said, so there's going to be this little project come to town, this little feature, and they need to hire a local payroll person. And at the time, there was one local payroll person that I knew of. And she was on some other project, so she was booked. And he said to the first, it's fairly small. Do you think Amy can do it? And she was like, oh, I'll give her a cheat sheet. She'll be fine. I was like, what are you talking about? Another job? And they're like, yeah, another job doing payroll. And I was like, okay.
I'll take it.
As long as they're aware I've never done it before, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's so like right place, right time, and open to taking the chance.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of the business, I always tell people, a lot of it getting in is kind of who you know, which is not great, but staying in is how well you do the job. So you can know a lot of people and get in the door, but if you can't do the job or don't want to do the work, you're not going to succeed.
Yep, it's true.
So
willing to work the long hours, have the right attitude, show up with that learning mindset. That's what it takes. Yeah.
So my first payroll job was I had the little payroll book, and I had it sitting in my lap, and I had the time cards on my desk, and I would, who am I paying? And I'd look up the contract and read the little paymaster, write up the time card, and did the best I could.
All by hand.
All by hand.
Yeah. And looking at the paymaster. Wow.
All by hand.
So do you remember what year this was?
That would have been in 98, 99.
So you started on this show. You survived that first. And then did you have another show right away? Did you stay with the same team?
I mean, it was Atlanta. So and at the time there wasn't a lot going on in Atlanta, the late 90s. They'd had their little boom and then they had their bust. And I did a show as a second, and then I did get another payroll show, and it was in Savannah.
Okay.
So I went to Savannah, and I worked there. And then when I was done, and my husband said, look, if you're going to be traveling, if you're not going to be home, then we might as well go to Los Angeles, because then you can work and be at home.
Mm-hmm. In theory.
And, that's what we thought. So we moved to Los Angeles in 2000. And the connections I made on my Savannah project got me into a project here.
Okay.
And then it just kind of cycled through who I was working with, who they knew, a friend needed somebody. Mm-hmm. And at the time it was kind of funny, because it was kind of like, do you know anybody? Well, Amy's available. I'm about done with Amy, so you can have her. And I remember feeling like I was getting passed on to people, which is fine, mm-hmm. because it was continuous work. Mm-hmm. But it was a lot of who you knew, getting you referrals,
yeah,
and stuff, and then being good enough to get the next referral. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. yeah,
it's still that way in some.
It is still that way.
Yeah,
it
people are always asking.
Yeah,
who's available? Who do you know? This is potentially coming up, or
mm-hmm.
I lost my clerk to another show. I need to pull somebody new in.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you started out on this lower budget, the movie of the week and all that, and now you're doing some of these huge, like we said, Extraction 2 and Superman. How is it different? How does Payroll differ?
The difference is the size of the crews,
mm-hmm.
the incentives,
mm-hmm.
some of the things that we're asked to do now that we didn't have to deal with before. But big projects tend to get staffed better than little projects. And little projects aren't easy. I don't care what anybody says. If you have a crew on a little project will jump ship faster and go work on something else that might last longer. And then you have turnover.
Yeah.
So every week, oh, look, I'm hiring another 15 people, and I'm hiring another 15 people, and a new 15 people. And so small projects, I don't find them any easier than big projects.
I remember a lot of those indie films, smaller, when I started out, and they have, like you said, 3 people, and everybody's doing a little bit of everything mm-hmm. because you're just trying to keep the thing moving and running.
And that has changed a little bit. There is a little bit more demarcation between who does what, mm-hmm. just because every job is more detailed, I think, than it used to be. Yeah.
Like you're saying.
There's a bit more specialization. Mm-hmm. I know there are still a lot of people who will do, I'm a first in payroll, and good for them. I mean, I know that exists out there, mm-hmm. but that world and the world I'm in, we don't really meet that much.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a bit of a blind spot for me.
Yeah. Let's go back to COVID. I know you were on a little tiny show called The Gray Man.
Yes.
All paper. Netflix, they had a product for Start, I think.
They did have a product at the time. Yes.
Might have been using
ESN,
that.
I think it was, for their Start cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then COVID happens.
Yes.
You're at home on your kitchen table trying to process payroll, and everything went digital overnight.
Yes.
How did that play out?
Well, luckily for me, I didn't start The Gray Man until after COVID had hit. I was on a different project when the whole shutdown happened.
Got it.
And that one went away for me, and I moved over to The Gray Man. And before anything really happened there, we were like, I've been working with cast and crew on their digital stuff, so we should use it.
So Starts had already been done. Did you just start with Hours Plus then?
Yes.
With time cards?
Yeah. We just had to get people, logging in.
Yep. Setting up their account, getting their direct deposit.
It's like, do you shop online? You can do this. If you've ever logged into anything online, you can handle Hours Plus.
How did you approach the crew? Were you doing a lot of hand-holding and jumping on a Zoom and trying to walk people through? Yeah.
Yeah. I took a lot of phone calls, not a ton of Zoom, because at that time, I don't feel like the crew was Zoom friendly. There was a lot of, talking people on the phone. Okay, now if you click on here and if you click on there, a lot of tutorial kind of
Yeah.
memos out there.
Yeah.
If I ever had anybody that balked at it, I would and I still do, just try it for 3 weeks.
That's the magic number, 3
It
weeks.
seems to be it. So the first week they kind of struggle with it, and the second week they're like, okay, I kind of got the hang. And then the third week they usually love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I found that too when I was doing payroll. It was, let's go through it together. Mm-hmm. And then, do you think you can do it next week? Okay, give it a try. If you can't, if you get stuck, call me. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
And you're right. By the third week, they would usually be like, I got it. It's repetition and just familiarity.
Yeah. I always gave them the option, especially during COVID, if we can't get it figured out, then you can email me your times. Just don't send me a picture of your time card with feet in the background. I saw so many feet. But a lot of it was literally, we'll get you paid, give it a try.
And you've come a long way, I think, in that. So that was going on 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. Have all your projects been digital since then?
Yeah. I tell people that I prefer digital, and because I know it, if they want to step into the digital world, I can work with them to make it as painless as possible.
Well, I say you're so great. You're known for being open and accommodating when people have questions. People feel like they can reach out to you, like I recently did with someone on another project. I said, you need to talk to Amy Winfrey.
Well, digital's here, and it's not going anywhere, and I can't imagine going back to paper. I don't know how I managed. Well, I know how I managed it. I worked 14-hour days doing paper, and it was rough. But digital's here, and anybody that isn't doing it, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But they're not going to move forward. I'm prejudiced.
Yeah. We support that. Okay, so tell us just your staffing. If you said you don't work a 14-hour day anymore, are you able to work a shorter day with digital?
I am able to work a shorter day. I'm not going to say I work 8 hours and done, but 10 to 12. Everybody gets to the point, though, you work in 12-hour days sitting at your desk and you're working with the numbers and stuff. At some point, you can't keep that up.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, you start making mistakes.
Absolutely. Well, my eyes would just start crossing. You're staring at that screen. You're looking at spreadsheets. You're looking at the system.
And you're hitting buttons, and you're like, oh, did I look at... And I used to do it with paper too. It's like I've done 17 time cards and realized I didn't put mileage on any of them, and it happens with digital too. But I do not work the hours that I had to work.
That's great.
Yeah, it is good.
So one thing that came up when we were talking was just you deal a lot with labor agreements, the different unions, and I know one thing you said was there's a lack of consolidated AMPTP agreements. And that can complicate some things on your side.
Yes.
Tell us why that's a problem.
Well, for 18 years of my career or more, the contracts didn't change except for the rates. The rates went up 3% and nothing else changed. It was great.
Yeah, straightforward.
And then they started changing rest periods. And then they changed them again. And then they changed meal penalties. And then they did weekend rest periods. And so there have been actual, real, substantive contract changes to how people should get paid. That's not just money. And if you want to find the rules, you have to go back to an agreement and then follow the MOAs. Or, find the most recent MOA and see if the issue that you're looking for is addressed. And if it's not in that MOA, go to the one before that and see if it's addressed in that MOA. And if it's not there, you can go back to the agreement and see what the rule is, and apparently it hasn't changed. And like the SAG contract, SAG-AFTRA, their CBA hasn't been updated since 14.
Okay.
I think it's the 14-17 contract. And we're just MOAs after that.
And tell us, those that don't know what MOA stands for.
Memorandum of Agreement.
Okay.
So that's what they come out with every 3 years to say, here are the new things we've agreed to. And it's great, but it'll say in section 17B, change the language to conform to this following ruling. And so you have to know what 17B was to know what changed. Does that affect the situation you're trying to pay now?
Right.
So we can't go to one-stop shopping. Let's look at the SAG contract. No, let's look at the contract and then see if these things changed in any later MOAs.
Right, right.
Is my understanding it's the job of the AMPTP to produce these consolidated contracts with the conforming language and stuff, and they just haven't. And I don't know why. I don't know why that's okay.
Yeah. So the strike that we had in 2023, AI was a huge part of it, protecting the creatives, of course. And then cost of living increases, your increase, because it goes in effect for 3 years.
Yeah.
What did you see out of that strike and those new agreements? Anything substantial that really felt like a major change from how it had been in previous years? No.
No. And it's funny because rest periods have been a thing forever. Meal penalties have been a thing forever. Higher meal penalties are now a thing. And they still force people. They still don't break for lunches.
It's like, this is the suggested thing. But if you're going to force people to work through their lunch, you're going to pay them for it.
Yeah. And it's substantially more than it was. But it's still, people still working 10, 12, 13-hour days without a half-hour rest period.
Right. Right.
And if they're going to pay for it, fine. It's not my money. But the penalties have gotten bigger, but the behaviors don't seem to have been alleviated by the penalties getting bigger.
Yep. Yep. You got to get the shot. You got to get magic hour is only at one time, and you got to get it.
Yeah. If you're shooting in the winter and you need the daylight,
that's what you're
you only
going
have
for.
so much time. But yeah, I believe it.
Do it again the next day. No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
So let me ask you this. I know we have contract negotiations coming up again this year, 2026. What are you anticipating with all of that?
Will there be a strike? I'm prepared for one.
You have to be prepared.
You have to be prepared that any of the guilds, any of the unions will strike because they can. They're allowed to.
Yeah.
And it's tough because it was a long time out of work for a lot of people because when the business did come back, so much stuff went overseas.
Well, let's just hope the negotiators are at the table early and talking and working in good faith to get something done. So.
Exactly.
Okay, so I like to do a little quiz.
Okay.
I don't know if I warned you about this, but this is, so we looked over your resume,
it's not math,
your experience.
Right? I don't do math without a calculator.
No math.
Okay.
This is just Amy Winfrey fun quiz.
Oh.
All right. So we talked about the gray man, and that was during COVID. Tell us who played the rival operatives in the film.
Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling.
Yes, yes, yes. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. Two of my favorites. Which film that you worked on featured Gal Gadot's first appearance as Wonder Woman?
That would be Batman v Superman, The Dawn of Justice.
Yes. Which, throwback to another podcast episode, you met Brad Fields on that episode.
Actually, I'm not 100% sure that we met because he was doing set security and I was in the office. So I'm not sure we met there, but I know we probably passed at some point. But we did end up doing a little Marvel additional photography unit together.
Okay.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah, in February of 2020, right before everything shut down.
Those were the days.
Yes.
So given your experience with international shoots, Kong Skull Island was filmed in which countries?
It was in Hawaii.
Okay.
It was in Australia, and it was in Vietnam.
Ding, ding, ding. All right. And delivering large-scale productions at home, which streaming platform had Extraction 2?
Netflix.
Yes.
Yep.
Ding, ding.
Yep.
One of my favorites still. Okay, so we've talked about how open you are to digital. You've been a great proponent. You jump in, you figure it out. What is the biggest shift, do you think, that's like impacted your day-to-day workflow?
That's a tough question because when you're in it, you don't really realize. I mean, a lot of it for me personally, not necessarily the payroll job, but for me in my career, is I've started doing where I'm more of a supervising kind of lead payroll person. And I find that I do fewer time cards and I'm more managing the flow of everything else and assisting people and answering questions and that kind of stuff. And I don't know if that's... I mean, I think that's part of the digital world, is that you need somebody at the top to manage the processes.
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the most critical things is setting up your approval workflow in the system and in the department. Who's doing what? How does this work? Does everyone know what their role is? Because just because it's digital doesn't mean that people don't have to touch the paper to move it along, the digital paper.
Exactly.
Right.
Because it's still a case of, if you're Sunday through Thursday, you know, Sunday is breaking time cards, and Monday is getting questions answered and finishing time cards, and Tuesday is SAG, you know, and Wednesday is checking edits, and Thursday is cutting checks and all that fun stuff. Luckily, the cutting checks part is way down with direct deposit, but it's still kind of the same workflow. It's just not as, it used to be very back end heavy. So, you know, you would break time cards and then you'd have to check what your paymaster came up with.
Right.
And, you know,
And do
did
this
they
back
match
and
or
forth.
not? And now it's more of, did I send it correctly? Or did anything change between then and now? You know, it feels, when I try to put it in terms like that, it feels like it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's just a case of, I know what I send should be 100% right versus I've written numbers on a piece of paper and we'll see if they match,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a different feel there.
And I think that's one thing, particularly with Hours Plus, the time should be entered correctly on the front end to pay to the contract.
Yeah.
And then ideally, if that's done, the back end stuff, like you said, the edit process should be quicker, that turnaround. There shouldn't be a lot of back and forth.
And one of the things I do love is somebody sends a paper time card and, you know, you can't read their handwriting, or somebody, you know, the producer or the UPM wants you to change it, you know, not pay it that way or whatever thing is. And now with the digital, it goes back to the crew member. They have to agree with it. People have to sign off on. And I know that there are plenty of people who wish they didn't.
What do you tell those people?
I tell them that I wish they didn't too, because if I had my way, I would take production reports and make time cards and pay people, and they wouldn't have to do anything.
Right.
But
That's not
I've
the way it
asked them,
works.
how many times have you looked at your production report and it's been wrong? That's what we're working with is, you know, the information we're given is what we pay. But if you give us that information and we can't change it without you knowing about it and approving it, then isn't that a good thing?
Right. It's protecting the employee,
It
the
is.
integrity of the process, that we're compliant for audits and all of these other things that are factors.
Yeah. And I had a discussion with one of the unions recently, and it was through a third party. It was a weird situation, but it came out, and I just had to say, the payroll company doesn't care if the crew member signs their time card. The studio cares.
Yeah.
And the union should care. So don't put it on payroll that your union members have to log in and sign things. If you really have that big a problem with it, contact the studio.
Yeah.
And tell the studio that you don't think your guys should have to log in and sign their time cards.
How'd that go over?
I never heard anything back, but I mean, you know, there's a reason for it, but it's not it's not my reason.
It's not my fault.
Yeah. The job would be easier if I didn't have to check production reports. I've always said that, paper or digital. If I didn't have to match time cards to production reports, it'd just be math and I'd be done.
Yeah. Well, when you're thinking about your role, I guess I get a lot of questions. One, people wanting to get in the business. How do they get their foot in? And we kind of touched on that. What are you looking for when you're hiring on your team?
Somebody who likes puzzles. Somebody who, if I tell them, hey, this time card isn't right, and they say, let me find it. Because I've worked with people and they've given me, you know, their paper time cards, or they've sent their digital time cards through, and I said, hey, there's something, this isn't right. And they've, you know, just kind of looked at me, and I'm like, do you want me to tell you what's wrong with it, or do you want to figure it out? And if they say they want to figure it out, then I think they're going to be a good payroll person if they can do all the rest of the craziness of the job.
Right,
but
right.
if their answer is just tell me what's wrong with it on the first go, then this isn't going to be the job for them because it's too hard to not want to at least come up with the right answer yourself. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe that's why I liked it. I love puzzles. Kind of figuring out, okay, where's the missing link, or this was done wrong. Yeah, I liked breaking out time cards when I knew how to do it.
I kind of miss doing paper time cards because, I mean, it's an open book test. And,
Right. You have the rules.
You have the rules.
You have the book.
But it's kind of fun to come up with a number and get an answer. So I do kind of miss that part of it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just the skill level.
Yeah.
And interest in puzzles, math. Of course, math is a part of it, but we all have calculators we lean on. And the rest is always just work ethic. Can you handle the chaos that is production?
And I have worked with somebody who used to say, accounting is a service department. And it's like, okay, we are, but we're not servants.
There's a difference.
Yes, because that person would treat it like, we were servants, like we weren't worthy,
We're here to do everyone's bidding.
The crew was better.
Yeah.
We were just in the office, and we get enough of that. Of you're just, you guys have it so easy in the office. It's like, well, it's air conditioned, yeah, but
we're still working the hours. We're still dealing with the other problems and the chaos.
Exactly. Yeah. But, somebody that can be nice to the crew and help them, but not take it personally when they, somebody's going to come in and complain about something.
Oh, always.
I've been told many times, you've ruined Christmas. I've ruined so many Christmases, apparently. Checks that get lost in the mail or whatever reason. So that's always fun. But for doing payroll, if you can treat it like a puzzle, if you enjoy that kind of finding the answer,
that's a great way to start. Yeah. Love it. Okay, we have questions on you. Just some Amy pop quiz first that comes to mind. People probably already know this.
Okay.
What is your go-to crafty snack?
Gummies.
Ooh.
I like gummies.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite department?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know. You hate to pick favorite.
Every show is different, and it ends up with a different favorite department. You can have an amazing, super friendly, super nice, super helpful. Like, I shouldn't call them best boys because I think they go by best person grips. And then the time cards are just a mess.
Right.
Personality
and skill aren't always aligned.
Yeah. I mean, one of the departments I really like breaking their time cards is camera because they're a little bit different. But favorite, it really just depends on the show. It is hard. Yeah.
All right, I'll give you that. Which department is the best at their paperwork?
Usually it's props.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have said production.
The problem with production is, and not to say anything bad against the office PAs, but they're usually so busy and out and about that you're waiting for their time cards.
Yeah. And you're not dealing with receipts and POs and all of that stuff. So
I
that's
don't have to
different.
deal with any of that stuff.
Okay, so when have you been starstruck on set?
I did get to meet Julie Andrews.
Aww.
Yeah. On Princess Diaries too.
Yeah.
I got to go out. Barbara Gutman and I went out to set because Gary Marshall used to do the clapper. And so Barbara and I went out and got to meet Hector Elizondo and Julie Andrews and do the clapper with them.
Maria.
So, yeah, that was pretty...
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I've met other people, but she's my go-to answer. Just,
It's always the person, like I watched Sound of Music and Mary Poppins as a kid, and that holds such a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
I would be starstruck to meet her too. Okay, what childhood movie made you want to work in entertainment?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, I think we've touched on a lot of stuff. Personally, too, you've mentored a lot. You're always teaching. Was there anyone that kind of helped teach you?
When I first moved out here, I was working on a show as Payroll, and one of the seconds had been Payroll, and she wanted out of Payroll. And she gave me her little Excel payroll cheat sheet for how
Okay.
to break time cards faster. Because even when you're doing them by hand, that whole 10 key thing, I can run a 10 key, but I can't do 450 time cards on a 10 key.
No.
So this Excel program, she gave it to me. I've expanded it over the decades. And without that, I don't know that I would have
Yeah.
continued, that I would have made it.
Do you still use it today?
I do still use it. I
Wow.
update it. I'm having a little trouble getting it to update with the new meal penalty rules. I have a meal penalty sheet that's separate from the time card. So I can do all the labor on one sheet and I have to do the meal penalties on another sheet, but I'm working on that. But most of the accountants that I've worked with, I've learned something from. And it's sad because payroll for so long of my career was a one-person job. We barely got assistants, much less another payroll person, that I didn't have the opportunity for a very long time to learn from other payroll accountants.
Right.
So-
You're just kind of on your own.
You're on your
out
own.
there
and
figuring
you're-
it out.
You're
Yeah.
asking your boss. You're asking labor relations at the studio. You used to be able to ask labor at the payroll company, but you can't anymore. All the things. And you're not allowed to call the unions.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid you call a union and ask a question about their contract. So it was tough for a long time to
Yeah.
get anybody who understood what you were dealing with and going through and, would help you answer
Yeah.
the really basic or those brain fart questions. People have treated payroll as a one-person department or a person and an assistant for so long, for so much of my career, 20 years of my career, especially the smaller shows. I mean, you get to $250, $300 million, yes, you're going to have more people, but $100 million movie is
Yeah.
like, that's so much money, $100 million.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not very big.
Okay,
It's not
so
a big project.
give us an example
No.
on a $100 million movie. How many payroll people? Would you be the supervising
Well,
payroll accountant and
I
you would
guess-
have two?
It would be, I would personally would think you would want a clerk, one or two assistants.
Uh-huh. And then a SAG payroll person and then a
It depends
crew
on how
payroll?
big the SAG is. Sometimes you get those. There's a lot of stunts, and
Yeah.
sometimes you get your SAG person's making your top person's making $20 million, and
And
you
then
know
that
you're not
$100
gonna-
million budget,
Yeah.
certainly the
Yeah.
time cards came down.
Yeah, and like how many people? It's a lot of who do you have, how good are they, kind of thing. But the problem, when COVID hit and there was so much work.
Yep.
This was everybody was streaming. There was so much work. There were never enough payroll people. And everybody was desperate for payroll. And, if you had a pulse and you could add two and two together, you could get
You've
a
got
job. Yeah. And
Over scale, on
and people were
location,
working
with
multiple
housing and per diem.
jobs. And it was just crazy. And everybody was like, what are we going to do? And it's like, you need to open the payroll pipeline the way you have the AP pipeline. So when you're on the AP side, you're a clerk, and then you're a clerk for a show or two, depends on how good you are. And then you're a second for several shows, learning all the different things about being a second. And then you can get to be a first. And then, you get to be an accountant. So there's this whole accepted path on the AP side. And in payroll, it's like you're, formed fully from the controller's head. And it's like, where do you get payroll accounts? Well, they come out of the payroll companies. No, they don't. Not anymore. They used to.
Yeah.
They used to.
Yeah.
They'd work for several years, get really well trained, and then they'd go out into the
And go
world and
freelance.
do freelance. And that was great, but not everybody did that, and it doesn't work that way anymore. It's not a pipeline to a payroll accountant. So if you have a payroll person and a clerk, the payroll person is too busy to teach the clerk,
Yep.
and the clerk is too overwhelmed watching the payroll person in the weeds. I don't want to do that.
So what do you think the solution is?
I
What
think-
could the payroll companies do better?
I'm not sure that it's a payroll company issue.
Okay.
Because studios don't want the payroll company teaching. They don't want the producers teaching necessarily. No,
So-
the unions don't want the producers teaching. The producers don't want the unions teaching.
So who does the burden fall on?
It feels like the burden falls on the payroll accountants who are working to train the people on their staff, which is fine if one, you have a staff
And the time to
and
actually
the
train.
time. So if you are in the weeds to you got to stop and train somebody. And for me, my whole thing has been however many payroll people you think you need to adequately staff so that people are not working 12-hour days, add one more.
Yeah, that sounds right
Be
to
it
me.
an assistant, be it a
For
payroll
coverage,
person. Because,
for backup.
I mean, I've been doing it 20 plus years. Somebody who's been doing it 10 years is probably pretty good. But they could follow up under somebody been doing it for 20 plus years and then another assistant, and you've got enough knowledge that is, you're able to train people without anybody being,
Well, I think that is a good way. You have enough knowledge in the room to handle and tackle all the things.
Although every show I do, I learn something.
Something new.
I don't want to keep learning something new, but here we are.
That's the way it goes.
But staffing to me, and at some point in time, and now that the strike has happened and the number of projects is down, the people who are getting work are the people who've been doing it 15, 20, 25 years, have been doing it. They've got the rep, they've got the knowledge, they can handle the digital, they can do the paper, whatever it is, they can handle it. And all the people who aren't getting work and maybe falling out, who's going to replace me when I retire?
Yeah.
Who is in that range?
You've got to
Somebody
find
needs
them.
to be there.
Your little protege.
You've got to
bring them
start
up.
training them. But that's the thing. If you don't hire them and train them, they're not going to be I've got 5 years under my belt and, I can handle a lot of things versus I was a clerk on my last show and I know how to do background.
Yeah. And
Which
that's
isn't nothing, but
there's a lot more to it.
yeah. But I feel like the studios are doing it to themselves the way they did it when they were like, it's a one-person job. Oh, you can have an assistant or you can have a clerk, but you got to share the clerk with AP. I mean, that was the whole thing, and that's how they ran out of payroll people.
Yeah.
And they're I feel like they're going to do it to themselves again.
Yeah. Well, you're doing your part to pay it forward and teach the next generation, and I know everybody appreciates it.
Well, it is a bit selfish because, the new contracts come out and the new things come out, and I hate reading those. They're so tedious.
Yeah.
But if I force myself to read them on social media in front of other people, then I've read it. I have to read it because I've said I'm going to read it. And if everybody listens or don't, and whether I'm forcing myself to read things that I don't want to read by doing it online.
Wait. So
What?
are you telling me you get on social media and you read the contract aloud?
Yeah.
And people tune in?
Yeah. I mean, I've done it on Doug's
On the
Facebook
Facebook
page.
group?
Yeah. And I'll
So
be
I
like,
could
hey,
play that at night when I can't go to sleep.
yeah.
Or I wake up
It'll
at
be
2 a.m.
So tedious, yeah. But when the new MOAs come out, I'll get on there and I'll read through the MOA, the whole thing. And it's just commentary because it's like, oh, they're going to do this. Good luck with that, Or this is TV stuff, which I don't know. So if you understand TV, then this is for you kind of thing. But if I don't do that, then I don't want to read those either.
Okay, let me ask you this. What inspires your hair color? At the moment, it's blue.
Just something fun.
I feel like last time I saw you might have been pink or purple, but
It might have been purple.
you keep it fresh.
I do try to keep it up, yeah. I was out of town for a long time and had kept it short. It had been over bleached, and it needed a rest. So
yeah.
And I finally, and somebody just was like, oh, your gray is growing in nicely. And I'm like, oh, time to color my hair.
All right. Enough said. And I know that you have a secret hobby, which is baking and baking beautiful cakes. They're so ornate. You ice them. The Ice Princess. I don't know what that nickname's going to be. Have you been baking lately?
I haven't baked since I've gotten home. I was really busy on this last project, but I did get to make a wedding cake.
Yeah.
In September.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I take that back. My neighbor had to take cupcakes to a 4th grade Valentine's party. So she made the cupcakes, I made the frosting, and then I decorated them for her.
We'll have to put this on the website or something, link to your Instagram. Well, thank you for joining.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're a legend. We love having you.
It's so weird to hear.
Well, you worked hard. You have a good attitude. You're paying it forward to all the others, and you're a great partner. I know I can speak for us here, working with us on the digital, being open, learning, giving great feedback, which we always appreciate because we want to make our products better for you because you're using them, and you're always great with that. So thank you.
Well, thank you for taking my feedback into consideration because it does just get better and better. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm still going to call you the Hours Plus Nanny or Hours Whisperer.
There you go.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Whatever you want, that's fine.
So if you've got a question for me or the Cast and Crew team, you can send it our way, and we would love to feature it in a new episode. And for more conversations like this, you can go to Cast and Crew Presents wherever you get your podcast.